you know how much the government debt is? 38.9 billion, 393 billion, 474 billion? What if I told you that the government debt is actually zero? Am I for real? The truth is that the government debt is zero. How can this be? It's very simple. I'll take you through it. Whenever the Australian government wants to pay a teacher, a soldier or a nurse, it takes money from you and me. Taxes. And if there is a shortfall, it gets the extra money required by selling Australian government bonds on the open bond market. So all the money the government uses to spend is collected from taxes and selling bonds. What is a bond? Simple. Anyone can hand over Australian dollars for the government to use, and the government will hand back a certificate. A bit like the ones I used to get in the little athletics, only more fancy. The certificate is an IOU. It says that in so many years' time, the buyer can present the certificate, and the Australian government will get the Reserve Bank, that's the government mint, to print out the number of dollars written on the certificate. So all the bond means is that instead of the Reserve Bank printing out the money immediately, it will print out the money a few years down the track. It's like at work when the photocopier gets banked up. Eventually the money still gets printed out. The government owns the Reserve Bank, the mint, and prints out money which it uses to spend. Economists call this a fiat currency. So when the government talks about debt, all they mean is the total of all the bond certificates that will eventually be swapped for Australian dollars, printed out by the Reserve Bank. And when they talk about a government deficit, that just means the amount of bonds issued for that particular year, since governments raise all their spending money from taxes and bonds. If taxes are higher than expenditure, the magical surplus, it just means that they're shrinking the economy by taking money out of circulation. Why doesn't the government get the Reserve Bank to directly print money to fund essential government services? Well, they used to. For years, the government did that, but in 1982, they made a rule to stop funding programs this way, deciding to raise all government expenditure by collecting taxes and issuing bonds. And bonds are just the printing of money deferred to a later date. So why did they do this? Because it's easier for the government to cut services if they have the excuse that it will reduce the government debt. If before 1982 we used to print money and put the cash directly into government programs, then what's stopping us doing it again?